She walked into my kitchen like she owned the deed to my life. No knock, no warning, just rain dripping from her umbrella onto my tile HOA badge swinging from her neck, violation slip in hand like it was the Holy Grail. Unregistered occupant. That's a Class B infraction, Daniel. And I didn't blink. That occupant is my son, Karen. She just looked through me, stone-faced. Inspections don't require prior notice when a property is in non-compliance. I stepped forward real quiet, real slow, and said, "You voided your insurance the second you walked into my home without consent. Section 84C of the Residential Protections Act. You might want to look it up." And for a split second, she hesitated. I saw it. That was the moment I knew this wasn't about violations, it was about power. And the only way bullies back down is when you stand your ground. If you've ever felt that jolt, standing up to someone who thinks they run your life, stick around, because this isn't just a story about an HOA, it's about what happens when you push the wrong person too far. I'm Daniel Reyes, widower, dad, former city code enforcement, which means I wrote half the rules these folks love to twist. I didn't come to Maple Glen Estates for a fight. But when my son's safety was at stake, I wasn't backing down for anybody. We moved here a year after cancer took my wife. The house was her dream paid for, with the policy she never got to enjoy. That rose trellis in the yard, she planted it with Eli when chemo was still working. It isn't just wood and flowers, it's memory pure and stubborn climbing up from the dirt. So when Karen tried to have it torn down for non-compliant elevation, it wasn't just a rule she was breaking, it was a promise. The first fine was when Eli walked the dog without a leash. The second was our curtain color apparently unauthorized deviation from neutral tones. But the day Karen used her master key to stroll into my house while my son was in the shower, that's when I realized this wasn't about order. It was predatory. Eli didn't say much that night, just stared at the wall and asked, "Do we have to move again?" I told him no, not this time. I tucked him in, then went out to the garage. Not for old files or revenge, just to look at that trellis. It was blooming, still fighting, still hers. Some folks said Karen wasn't so bad, just thorough. But I've seen these power games before: selective enforcement, intimidation, fines until people give up and move out. She'd made it personal, so I got to work not for payback but for resolution. Lawful, irreversible. The community bulletin board was the first battlefield. Maple Glen Clubhouse just past the pickleball sign-up, and there's my name in red: Daniel Reyes, Lot 47, violation, unauthorized occupancy. Status escalated review. Pending. Red ink, like I'm a threat, not a father. Two older ladies glanced my way, one apologetic, one just turned away. I don't blame them. Fear here isn't loud, it's silent. Maple Glen looked perfect: stone mailboxes, street lamps, lawns trimmed like military haircuts. But underneath, Karen ran the place like her own little empire. People let her because they just wanted peace. But peace isn't the absence of conflict, it's the presence of justice. Mrs. Latchford, 3 doors down, got fined for a ramp her son installed after her hip surgery. Disrupted visual flow, Karen said. She was forced out last winter. Her house flipped in 2 months, remodeled by Karen's husband's company. Funny how that works. The more I looked, the clearer it got. Karen's enforcement was about leverage, not rules. Kids scrutinized elderly, pressured renters, gone. And if you spoke up, you're next. That morning I saw her handing Mark Benson, her bulldog vice president, a folder, my escalation, no doubt. I stepped outside before I said something I'd regret. Clara Lynn, schoolteacher and mother of twins, caught up with me. She posted that notice without a vote, she whispered. There wasn't even a hearing. There it was, confirmation. Karen wasn't just interpreting rules. She was rewriting them, trusting nobody would fight back. But secrets don't last forever. The more I asked around, the more stories came out. Fines for invisible oil spots. Notices for non-conforming mailboxes. One guy got cited for a bamboo wind chime, said it violated sound rules. It was a silent wind chime. This wasn't random. It was Karen's playbook: intimidate, isolate, erase. So I started logging everything: dates, names, neighbor testimonies. Didn't need to take her down all at once, just needed to show a pattern. And the more I learned, the more I realized she'd made a mistake choosing us. The trellis was still blooming that night. Eli watered it, lost in his music. We'd survive this storm, too. The twist came in the form of Sarah Kim HOA treasurer. She always looked like she was trying to disappear. When I asked for a copy of the escalation notice, she nearly jumped out of her seat. Karen said the board reviewed it. She lied, then folded. Sometimes Karen handles small infractions administratively. This isn't small, I said. It's an eviction notice. Her hands shook, guilt showing. She wasn't scared of me. She was scared of being caught. She entered my house while my son was showering, I told her. Sarah's face went white. She's not supposed to... I know. And then quietly, she's been pushing things through faster lately. Mark signs off without looking. Her conscience was waking up. I could see it. That day, Karen stapled a removal notice right to the rose trellis. Not on the door or mailbox, right on the arch. Violation: non-compliant landscaping. Elevation exceeds guidelines by 14 inches. Remove in 72 hours or face penalty. No one else's yard got measured for elevation. Pergolas and tree swings everywhere. But this was about us. I remembered Eli helping anchor the posts last spring, pretending not to cry. I laid the notice on the kitchen table, the same place Karen had stood with her wet boots and her smug smile. So I called Mark Benson. Documentation for landscaping elevation rules, I said. They're in the handbook. No, they're not. Not for backyards. He hesitated. Karen may have referenced board notes from the last revision. Was there a vote? Silence. I'll be submitting a challenge, I said. Until the appeals heard, the structure stays. He tried to bluster. I didn't bite. That night I pulled up HOA registration docs, insurance filings, expense reports. If they wanted to play games, I'd play by the book, but harder. I headed to the county administration office and pulled Maple Glen's HOA insurance file. The kid at the counter didn't know why I wanted the amendments, but that's always where the secrets are. Turns out the HOA's insurance required a community-wide inspection every 24 months. No record of it. But Karen signed anyway, swearing it happened. That's fraud. If the insurer found out every fine, every violation, every home she entered, including mine, wasn't covered, that meant personal liability for the board. The cracks spread. Contractor payments with no vendor IDs, miscellaneous expenses. $4, $200 gone with a scribble from Karen. I took photos. Not stealing just public records, just the truth. This was bigger than the trellis. It was about a system so sure of itself it forgot to cover its tracks. I sent the files to a risk auditor I knew and a state property specialist. Didn't need to say much. They'd see it. I walked out at dusk, Eli reading on the porch dog, at his feet trellis climbing higher than ever. Memory made real. At dawn, the emails came. Confirmed breach of coverage. Immediate exposure. Karen's signature voided all liability. Every inspection, every fine, every entry into a home now legally exposed. The board's shield was gone. If a lawsuit hit, they were on their own. I built a bulletproof folder: screenshots, documents, contacts, timelines. Eli wandered in sleepy. Is it over? Not yet, but it will be. I had 3 binders printed, one for the board, one for the insurer, one for me. Dropped the packets at the clubhouse, and HOA lawyer stuck a summary on the bulletin board. By the time the meeting came around, word was out. But the real shift came when Sarah Kim knocked on my door. After dark manila envelope clutched tight. I can't sleep, she whispered. Inside, proof of forged signatures, transfers, Karen paying for new master keys so she could keep entering homes. She says it's for security, but we're not law enforcement. We're not supposed to have that kind of access. You know what this means? I asked. She nodded. I want out, Daniel. I can't go down with her. Help me make it right. And for the first time, she did. The bylaws said a censure vote could be called by any homeowner with 10 signatures. I got 34. Printed flyers. Know your rights. Where's your money going? Talk to neighbors who'd been burned. Mrs. Chan, the Nguyen brothers, the couple denied a memorial tree for their stillborn son. They didn't just sign, they wanted in. By Thursday, the whole neighborhood buzzed with energy. Karen sent out a last-ditch email, submit concerns in writing. Yeah, that wasn't happening. Clubhouse Thursday night. Karen in her pink blazer marked pacing. The place was packed, standing room only, people crowding the doors, some filming. When the floor opened for resident concerns, I stood. Daniel Reyes, Lot 47. Petition for censure per bylaws. Pass the folder to the secretary, signed, sealed, evidence attached. Breach of insurance, unauthorized entries, financial misconduct. Karen tried to wave it off. We can address this in executive session. No, this is community business. Sarah Kim stood up. I confirm all of it. Karen spun around, betrayed. You'll regret this. No, Sarah said. You will. The board voted unanimous. Karen stormed out. The clubhouse erupted, cheers, tears, a hush of realization. Nobody looked away. 2 weeks later, the roses were in full bloom, new vines reaching higher like they knew they'd made it. Karen's SUV vanished. Her name scrubbed from the board directory. The new board eliminated the master key policy, created an independent finance panel, voted Sarah interim president. Not perfect, but honest. I stood up at the meeting. I won't be joining the board, but I'll be watching. For accountability, not revenge. The neighbors smiled. They understood. That night, Eli and I sat on the porch, roses all around. He said we should paint the trellis, make it last. I nodded. The violation notice Karen stapled there, I laminated it and nailed it under the biggest bloom, not out of spite, but as a reminder. Sometimes the only way to honor what matters is to fight for it, even when nobody else will. So, if you're holding that envelope marked final warning, if you think you're alone, outnumbered, or unheard, you're not. One voice can bring down a wall built on fear. If this story says anything, it's that the roots you fight for will hold long after the weeds are gone. Drop your own story in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from, and if you ever wonder whether it's worth standing up, just look for the roses. We didn't just keep the flowers. We kept our home.